Formula One, the sport of speed, noise, and spectacle. The roar of engines, the scream of tires, the frantic shouts on the pit wall. But sometimes the greatest stories emerge from the quietest moments. Today I will tell you about someone who speaks little but achieves much, Oscar Piastri. They call him the silent assassin. Because Oscar doesn't talk, he doesn't show off. In interviews he's calm, even a little reserved. But once he's behind the wheel, the whole world falls silent and watches him. This story is not only Oscar's, it is also the tale of McLaren, a once mighty team reborn from its ashes. Together we'll listen to the scream that rises from silence. A driver's story cannot be separated from the seat he occupies, because sometimes that seat carries a history. McLaren is one of the biggest names in Formula One. In the 1980s, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost were in the same team, eternal rivals. In 1988, McLaren won 15 of 16 races. It was one of the most dominant seasons in history. In the 1990s, Mika Häkkinen challenged Ferrari. In 2008, a young Lewis Hamilton won his first title with McLaren. McLaren was a factory that produced the heroes of every era. But then things changed. Wrong engine partnerships, technical errors, failed strategies. Fernando Alonso's famous GP2 engine outburst showed the whole world how far McLaren had fallen.
GP2 engine. GP2.
A team once at the summit was now living only in the shadow of its past. During the pandemic in 2020, financial crisis knocked on the door. The team came to the brink of being sold. But McLaren did not give up. Investors stepped in, debts were restructured, and a decision was made. This team would be reborn. But it needed a new face to do it, a young, hungry, passionate star. And that star was a little kid karting in Australia. Oscar Piastri was born in 2001 in Melbourne. As a child, he had a curious obsession with cars. At just 6 years old, he was racing remote-controlled cars. At 10, he moved into karting. But Oscar was different. When rivals made mistakes, they shouted and got angry. Oscar never raised his voice. His expression remained the same. That's why his friends gave him a nickname, the silent assassin. Because he didn't talk, he just won. At 14, his family made a decision that would change their lives. If we want to progress on the road to Formula One, we have to move to Europe. His father Chris left his job and devoted all their savings to his son. The family moved from Australia to England. It wasn't an easy decision. A new country, a new culture, a new life. But Oscar's silence became his greatest strength here too. He didn't talk, he just turned the wheel, and he kept winning. Oscar's junior career was like the moves of a chess grandmaster. In 2019, he became Formula Renault Eurocup champion. In 2020, he won the Formula 3 title. In 2021, he won the Formula 2 title. 3 years, 3 different series, 3 championships. Very few drivers have done this, and Oscar stood out for one quality above all: consistency. He was always in the points. He always fought for the top. He was fast, but he was also patient. The press began to call him quiet, but lethal. Because he didn't make noise, yet he took down his rivals one by one. Now Oscar was at the door of Formula One, but life had one more test in store for him. The year was 2022. Oscar was in the Alpine Academy. But the team didn't give him a race seat. He waited a whole year as a reserve driver. This could have ended a career, because a driver without a seat is quickly forgotten. But then something happened that entered the sport's history. Alpine announced that Oscar would race for them in 2023, but Oscar posted this on social media. I will not be driving for Alpine in 2023. It was a rare moment in Formula One. A young driver was rejecting his own academy. Because McLaren had already moved, they had seen the future in Oscar, and this decision became a new beginning for both Oscar and McLaren. The 2023 season was Oscar Piastri's first year in Formula One. He lined up alongside a strong teammate like Lando Norris. But Oscar never stepped back. He stood on the podium twice that season. He won the sprint race in Qatar. And at the end of the year, he was named Rookie of the Year. For McLaren, this was a huge morale boost, because the team had been looking for a hero for years. And perhaps that hero was right before their eyes. In the 2024 season, Oscar Piastri took his first Grand Prix victory. This showed he wasn't just a rookie, he was a future champion. Oscar's greatest strength was his emotional control. While rivals made mistakes under pressure, Oscar stayed ice cold. And the 2025 season became a turning point for Oscar. At the Dutch Grand Prix, he completed a Grand Slam. He took pole position, set the fastest lap, led the race from start to finish, and won. This victory was not only his, it was McLaren's rebirth as well. Now his name was mentioned in the title fight. Oscar Piastri's story offers powerful lessons. First, sometimes the most focused, not the loudest, wins. Second, the patient, not the flashy, reaches the summit. Third, silence can be the greatest scream. McLaren's rebirth merged with Oscar's patience and quiet. A once mighty team is now running toward the future with a young driver. Perhaps one day Oscar will be world champion. Perhaps he will write his name alongside Senna, Prost, and Hamilton. But whether he gets there or not, he has already taught us something. Success can also be born from silence. Oscar Piastri may still be at the start of his career, but anyone who watches him drive sees the future. Every lap is measured with millimetric precision, every corner taken with the delicacy of a surgeon. This is not just speed, it's the product of a mind that calculates everything. Team principal Andrea Stella describes him like this: Piastri doesn't race with emotions, he races with data. Behind the wheel, he's ice cold and razor sharp. Today, every eye in the McLaren garage is on him. The engineers, the strategists, the mechanics. They all see a spark of championship glory hidden in his calm. And the fans, the same millions who once believed in Senna and later in Hamilton, are now placing their hopes on Oscar. Because Formula One is not only about speed, it's a battle against time itself. And Piastri seems like one of those rare drivers who can slow time down. Each victory feels like a symbol of McLaren's rebirth from the ashes. Each podium a tribute to the past and a promise of the future. Maybe one day, the quiet kid of the paddock will be remembered as one of the youngest world champions in history. And when that day comes, everyone who has followed this journey from the beginning will smile quietly and simply say, "We always knew he was destined to become a legend." One day engines fall silent, victories are forgotten, championship trophies gather dust, but the mark left by character remains forever. Oscar Piastri's story inspires us not only in Formula One, but in life. You can win without talking. You can reach the top without showing off. The power of silence can be the loudest scream. And maybe very soon, Oscar Piastri will crown that silence with a world championship trophy.